Hi, this is Pastor Don. I want to talk to you about the bylaws draft for Village Life Church and some of the changes that we made from the bylaws at Faith Church and our motivation behind those changes. Before I do, I want to make sure to encourage you, please read the bylaws themselves very carefully. Even if you understand our motivation for the changes, we want to make sure that the wording actually accomplishes what we want it to accomplish. There's basically four themes of changes that we've made to the bylaws. I'd encourage you to grab your copy and look at it while I'm talking it through, and maybe hit pause and read some of the areas more closely as we go through them. On the first page, you'll see that the purpose statement is different. You'll see that the language is very similar and familiar to what we do at Faith Church, just worded differently. It's the same thing that is on our purpose and priority statement that you've seen on our website and in handouts. If you look at the doctrinal basis, this is the Free Church's doctrinal statement, and we made one change, which is back on page 3 under number 9 under Christ's return, and that is we took out the word premillennial. The reason for this is, one, it's just not a hotly contested issue anymore, and the ethos of the Free Church and of our church is to major on the majors and minor on the minors. And two is because we want to use our doctrinal statement more broadly than we do at Faith Church. For example, at Faith Church, to become a member, there's a small 5-statement doctrinal statement that's there from before we were a free church. And then there's also our full doctrinal statement, which is longer, that you need to subscribe to in terms of teaching and all of those kind of things. We thought it best to have one doctrinal statement for all purposes. And we wanted to take out the word premillennial because we don't think someone needs to be premillennial to become a member of Village Life Church. Or pretty much everything else in the doctrinal statement we think you do. So that was the motivation behind that. If you look further onto page 4, this is under Article 2 membership. You'll see some of the changes that we've made that reflect the fact that we're going to be a smaller church than Faith Church. And as a smaller church, we want to be more streamlined. We want to require less committees to be meeting, and we want our people to be freed up to be engaged in ministry. So look at section number 2 under membership procedure. You'll see that to become a member at Faith Church, you need to be interviewed by 2 elders. Here it's by 1 elder and 1 other member of Village Life Church, just to make it a little easier to accommodate that. If you look at the 2 pages behind that on page 6, you'll see the same thing when we talk about approving elders, that instead of requiring that we have a separate nominating committee, we want to let the elders or their designated subcommittee select and evaluate elders and bring them to the congregation for affirmation. So again, that's just an easier, smaller model to do that. Now also in this section here, and we're going to talk about the 4th area of changes, and that is the way that we get congregational feedback and approval and the way that we run our business meetings. You'll see here that it requires 75% affirming votes for someone to become an elder, but you'll see that we have a new category for that kind of approval. You may vote positive or negative or neutral, affirm, reject, or cast a neutral vote. The reason for the neutral category is we don't want you to rubber stamp somebody when you don't know them well enough to say, based on what I know of this person, I actually affirm them to serve as an elder. If it's someone you don't know and you haven't interacted with, we'd rather you cast a neutral vote. And then what we want to do is take 3/4 of the votes that are either in affirmation or rejection and make sure that it's 3/4 of those. And yet the neutral votes count towards making it a legitimate vote with the minimum required number of participants. We just want to avoid the rubber stamp kind of voting anywhere that we can. You'll also notice there that elders then could reject an elder candidate even if there was a 75% requirement to have them be an elder. The reason for that's very simple. All it takes is 1 or 2 comments that we find out are accurate, that are revealing something we don't know about an elder that would potentially disqualify them, and we want to make sure that the elders have the freedom to do that in that circumstance. If you turn the page and look at the hiring of pastors under Article 5, Section 1, you'll see again where we've streamlined it a little bit. The senior pastor, for that hiring, it will require a pastoral search team, pastoral search committee. For other pastors, it's not necessarily required, although it's something we would often do, is have a pastoral search team to hire another pastor. Only times when we wouldn't is if we wanted to hire someone who is already serving as an elder to then serve as basically a full-time paid elder, a pastor at the church. We want to have the freedom to be able to do that. If you look under Article 7 on the next page for church meetings, you'll see, again, some of the changes that we've made to the way we do our meetings. We only are required to have one in-person congregational meeting a year. And honestly, our hope for that is that that's a fun meeting. It's a time that we hear the war stories and success stories of all the different ministries of the church and how things are going, and a time to really celebrate the year as we look back. We want to be able to prove more routine matters without having to have in-person votes. So you'll see on the next page, under D, it'll say the elders shall determine when votes are limited to members present at a meeting, and that would be the case only when the discussion is very vital and important to whether you approve something or not. But then if something's more concrete and tangible and we can communicate it through written pieces or through video blogs like this or something, then we'll have ways to do written or electronic voting to try to enable feedback and approval from all of the members of the church rather than only from the smaller group of members that come back for a special meeting, which might be pretty difficult for us to schedule outside of our normal worship service times, and we'd really rather not have votes in our normal worship service times. So that kind of summarizes what I think are all the major changes in the bylaws. Again, read them carefully, let us know what you think, and if it goes well, we'll be back to you with the final draft. If we feel like we need to have an in-person meeting to really discuss some things, then we'll do that as well. Thanks very much for your time and prayer and consideration in this.